and welcome to UC Today. My name is Kristian McCann and today's session is choosing communication tech for industrial environments for today and tomorrow. Joining me to tell me all about it is Ariel Posvolsky, Customer Success Engineering Director, and Ryan Zoehner, CEO at Algo. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
So, Ryan, when we talk about unified communications in industrial environments, what are the biggest communication challenges manufacturers face, and what risks come from relying on outdated systems?
Yeah, I think it's a challenge we run into a lot. The first thing I would say is typically when we're talking to organizations with industrial environments, thinking about unified communications for that part of the building usually isn't the first thing that organization thinks about. Usually UC is first brought in to the office staff, to the communication rooms, and then it comes to the rest of the organization. And when we get into that industrial environment, you're really looking at how can we bring together multiple communication needs in a very complex space. Everything from how can we have a core UC system to how we may bring in DECT phones or radios, how we may bring in overhead paging and intercoms, to everything you'll need in that facility. And so what we really see in the challenges there is you're trying to bring together multiple parts of software, hardware, and different parts of the ecosystem to build a communication system that works for everybody. And if I can summarize up the challenge, it really comes down to a fragmented approach that folks don't know how to get the most out of their applications. And so for what we see in that environment, that leads to concerns on day-to-day communications. It can lead to concerns on safety and alerting communications. But ultimately, there are some really simple and easy ways to tie that together. And what we talk to organizations about all the time is you've invested in your unified communication system, build upon that, scale upon that, and use technology that's going to allow you to extend the reach of that platform into every corner of your industrial environment.
So, Ariel, many manufacturers are still using legacy analog paging systems, and for IT teams to consider this shift to IP, what makes them feel hesitant, or what makes this transition feel complex? And what does Algo, for instance, do to simplify this?
Right. That's a topic that we discuss a lot in our day-to-day with our customers and partners, by the way. And there are a few. Starting with, they don't understand the legacy infrastructure that they have, right? These teams that now are networking teams, UC teams, they're IT people, and they don't understand the legacy systems that have been in place for 20, 30, 40 years, perhaps, lacking documentation, all analog. So that's the first challenge, right? The second challenge is how do they easily bring that existing infrastructure into their IP world, their current tech stack. And our solution to this is bridging the connection for our paging adapters, which is a fairly simple solution to literally just bridge that connection, allowing them to slowly transition towards a full IP solution, right? So I would say paging adapters are the key. The challenge is that legacy technology that they don't understand and the technology they understand today, so we bridge that together.
Okay, Ryan, what other ways does Algo help lend its systems and its hardware, like multicast compatibility? And how does this help future-proof communication systems, especially when companies are trying to integrate that with their UC systems like Cisco or Teams or RingCentral?
Yeah, if I can take one step back before we even get to multicast and maybe have a general comment on that, is we talk to organizations every day that are migrating to unified communication systems, or they're bringing unified communications into their industrial environments. And the question that Ariel was putting towards is there's old analog legacy equipment that's there. Some organizations want to continue with that. Some organizations want to rip that out. Then as we look to how we bring everything together, you start looking at what technologies do you want to fundamentally build upon. And I think an important piece that I recommend to every organization is make sure what you're buying is going to be future-proof, and to do that, buy something open standard. There are options that are going to leverage things. You mentioned multicast. I'll mention SIP. I'll mention APIs. Any of these open standard technologies, which frankly most unified communication platforms accept, work with, and scale within, allow you to invest and build around that. When it comes to Algo standpoint, of course, everything we build is open standard. But organizations are able then in these industrial environments to add on things like voice paging via SIP connectivity back to their UC platform. They're able to scale that to page large facilities with hundreds or thousands of endpoints using technologies like multicast. You're able to use technologies like API to tie it back to other critical alerting flow, bring in different alerts, different sensors, different activities. You can really scale across that. And I use that example in voice paging. The same is true in emergency alerting, where you can leverage those same speakers, same alerters to get that across the facility. You can also use that for mass notification and security incidents with door control and everything else. So when it comes to this approach, the team at Algo can help in a lot of places, but what I always stress to organizations is you've invested in the UC, I've said that before, then leverage open standard technology to scale and allow that to reach every corner of your communication for audible and visible communication in the environment.
Ariel, with safety regulations like OSHA and ADA raising the bar, how can manufacturers adapt their communication systems to meet those standards in noisy and demanding environments?
Yeah, several ways. So looking at OSHA, for instance, common regulation is environments that are averaging 80 decibels or higher require staff to wear hearing protection, making communication even more challenging, right? So how do we overcome that? First and foremost, audible, clear communication using our IP speakers that are capable of cutting through the ambient noise. Secondly, as a possibility, the addition of visual alerters. There are environments that are just extremely loud, and public announcing is just not going to be effective. Perhaps an alert is going to be effective, but public announcing is in someone talking, it's not going to be effective. So we may mix and match speakers in some areas, visual alerters in some areas, combining both to provide clear communication across the facility. And visual alerters, of course, also ties in highly with ADA, right? Americans with Disabilities Act, which mandates that there are methods of communicating with people that have perhaps they're hearing impaired or visually impaired. And again, that combination of visual and audible is the key. The other piece that is important that can further enhance that ability is the use of our IP displays, because speakers are audible, of course, visual alerters basically, leverage different colors, flash patterns to signify different situations. But the ability to put a message on the screen is just taking it beyond to another level, and that's what we can do, leveraging our IP displays in combination with our speakers and visual alerters throughout the facility.
If I can add one thing to this, we're asking about OSHA and ADA, and I think the important thing to understand is there's regulatory frameworks around the world, and all these regulatory frameworks have unique elements, different pieces. A lot of them tie to what Ariel just talked about is safety in the workplace, right? Requirements for hearing protection and others. Some of that is also for safety on alerting and messaging. If something happens in that facility, how do we communicate it? If we need to get folks out of that facility, how do we communicate it? The important thing, I think, is organizations often look at some of these compliance levers and go, wow, that's a daunting task. How are we going to meet that? Do I need a standalone system? What does it look like? And it can get folks a little bit concerned about what the investment needs to be. What we typically find when we work with organizations is we can create solutions that are going to be dual purpose, things that you are going to use for everyday, day-to-day communications to keep your industrial manufacturing facility running, but also able to communicate to allow these emergency situations, critical situations to be effectively communicated to meet those compliance pieces. So I would just stress when we get into this, sometimes the compliance pieces seem like big lifts. Usually they're nice scalable add-ons to existing systems where you already may have a UC system, you may already have DECT phones, you may already have radio integration, and you just need to add in a few additional pieces that are easily scalable to address the compliance needs.
Well, Ryan, staying with you, talking about this compliance needs, what makes a communication solution truly industrial scale? For instance, how does Algo ensure devices messages are heard and seen clearly during these 24/7 operations?
Yeah, I think that last part that you mentioned is the most important part. Usually these industrial environments need to be running, right? We're talking about efficiency of a manufacturing plant, an industrial plant. There's not downtime. There's not the option to shut everything down to treat your IT systems. You need something that is going to be reliable, durable, and enduring. And something that we like to say a lot is The devices that we put into these environments should be thought of as infrastructure, not technology. Something that is going to last you for the next 30 years. And there's a few things that come into that. So when you're buying something for an industrial environment, I've already talked about requiring that it should be open standard. The next thing I would recommend is long durability and ongoing use, and ensuring that the device is going to have a lifespan of upwards of 20, 30 years. Some of that's the technology that's in it, ensuring that it is going to be open standard. The next piece is that you can remotely upgrade it and continue to manage that. So firmware, software patches, releases, adding new features, adding new functionality. The software that these devices may connect into will continue to evolve. There may be new releases from Microsoft, from Cisco, run across the platforms. Make sure these devices can stay up to date with that. So the ability to remotely do those upgrades is critical. The next thing is just long enduring performance. And I think that comes down to the devices themselves, making sure that if you're going to put something that's creating noise, it's rated to last for years, delivering that noise. It's not going to taper off. Same on visual. The lights aren't going to dim over time. They're going to remain functional. So having something like that's going to be critical. And the final piece is environmental. Understanding what your environment is. If this is a wet weather environment, maybe it's a manufacturing facility. We see this for food manufacturing a lot. Pressure washing every night, hot water. Make sure you have something that's truly built for that. The right ingress protection standard. So ensuring you have something that meets IP66, IP67 or higher, and it's going to have that durability. If it's going to be something that's going outside, making sure that it's built to withstand the environment, whether it's very cold, whether it's very warm. So if you work across industrial standards, I think you want to make sure open standard technology, long enduring durability, which includes remote upgrading factors, and then the right hardware that's going to meet the environmental needs, which usually comes down to water and temperature.
Okay, so Ariel, there may be many manufacturing owners or leads who are kind of thinking about upgrading, but they feel like they can't overhaul everything at once. What does a phased migration look like for them, and why is it an effective way for companies to upgrade while protecting their existing investments?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. I like to say that part of the beauty of our solutions, our products, is that I see them as Lego blocks that you can build upon, right? So you can start very simple, and this can transition towards something different. For those that have an existing infrastructure and need to leverage it initially anyway, our paging adapters are the key, right? They're designed to bridge the connection to legacy paging systems, the likes of amplifiers that have been in place for years, zone controllers, communication systems focused on public announcing, right? So our paging adapters do that. We can always, of course, work with the customers to identify what they have and provide advice and guidance on what they need from Algo. We have a few different paging adapters. They look very similar, but they do provide slightly different use cases, and they tie with slightly different devices as well. And then transitioning from that towards a full IP solution, the part of the beauty again is they can leverage the legacy infrastructure that they have through our paging adapters and slowly add IP endpoints, whether they are speakers of any kind, ceiling, horn, wall-mounted, etc., visual alerters, and they can leverage all that together. And for the time being, they can run this hybrid infrastructure that really works as if it was all IP, but really part IP, part analog, working together, allowing them to do a phase migration and slowly replace what they have towards a full IP solution. I want to make it clear, there's nothing wrong with just leveraging the infrastructure that they have as well. Okay, there are many, many benefits to going IP. So this is the recommended approach, the best approach possible for those that have the existing infrastructure, if they want to get to that IP, that full IP solution eventually.
So Ryan, once deployed, what kind of feedback have you received from facilities? And additionally, how do you see communication technology evolving to make these industrial environments even more safer and more connected?
Yeah, I think there's probably two things that we see in terms of the initial feedback. The first piece of feedback I'll say is on the positive side. The feedback is we've gone from legacy technology that in order to manage it, service it, you needed to be physically there, looking at a hardware device, making adjustments. Organizations immediately feel the benefit of remote management, remote control, especially larger organizations that can centralize that back at a core IT team. They see the benefits of the ability to remotely manage devices, supervise devices, etc. So ease of use goes up, and the functionality going, well, something that was hard to manage now looks like an IP phone that I've already been used to managing. So that's the first piece. The other piece that we continue to see is organizations going, now that I have these smart IP devices, I can use them for more than my day-to-day. It may become my emergency alerting, critical communication. And once that's happened, that becomes critical life safety communication, and organizations want to find redundancy solutions. What if I lose my cloud connectivity? How do I keep those devices online? And we could go into length about how we solve that, but usually there's some really smart, clever ways to build great failover solutions with a simple configuration and provisioning. So we often see that as a next step organizations look at. It's going, great, I like what I have, I'm using it better, let me use it for more of my communication set, and let's put redundant solutions in. As we look to the future and go, where is this going? I think the biggest thing that we see is the continued connection of hardware and software. And we're seeing the integration of more hardware, from sensors to alerts, really the full IoT ecosystem. And what's really nice, to build on what Ariel discussed previously, is we at Algo like to think of our devices as Lego blocks. They are part of how you build together a communication system. And we may build Algo devices together, but we will also scale many other devices in that ecosystem, other IoT devices, other hardware that fits. And so organizations really start to scale around that and understand that now they've built a truly open standard IP ecosystem. You can bring a lot more into it, and you can start harmonizing and integrating all of that technology in and around your UC system.
Excellent. Well, I think that's a great place to leave it. Ryan, Ariel, thank you very much for taking time to speak to me today.
Thanks, Kristian.
And thank you, as always, to our audience for watching. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and comment and subscribe so you stay in tune for more great videos like this. I'm Kristian McCann, and see you next time.